Texas wins this game 49-17. It was 35-0 at halftime. Obviously, guys, I jump back into this. I rewatch it. I only rewatch the first half. I'm not going to rewatch a game in the second half where it was 35-0 because let's be honest here, a lot of backups, a lot of third stringers, guys for Texas that haven't played the whole year really were getting meaningful snaps. That told me nothing in the second half. These are just going to be my observations from the first half where we can improve where I thought we were good at. And we'll talk about the stats as well. So Quinn Ewers, 19 of 27, 333 yards, 12.3 yards per attempt, 5 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. He did have a touchdown dropped by DeAndre Moore. He also had a interception drop. And we'll talk about that in a second. Let me throw up Quinn Ewers here. So overall, I thought Quinn played a pretty damn good football game. There was one throw he wished he could have had back, and that was he was trying to go to Gunnar Helm over the middle. A guy was going to blitz initially, dropped into coverage, probably should have picked it off. It was honestly a pretty unathletic play. He goes back to catch it. He doesn't catch it. He literally kicks his leg up for whatever reason, and the ball gets kicked. So I don't know what the hell he was doing. I guess that's why he plays defensive end or outside linebacker, and he rushes the passer more than he drops back into coverage. But Quinn Ewers, what I have noticed is he does a very good job at reading defenses pre-snap, and he trusts that so much that he doesn't really read defenses post-snap. And to be an NFL quarterback, you have to have the pre-snap reading, and then once you realize if you did make a mistake, you do not make the mistake in throwing the ball in the wrong place after the post-snap read, and he needs to work on that. That's the part of the game he still does not do very well. Georgia confused the absolute hell out of him. On top of that, they got pushed on the offensive line, so it was the worst of both worlds. They confused him, and then he didn't have time to correct the mistake if he could have even corrected it in the first place. So it's going to be very interesting how that goes from here on out. He did miss Isaiah Bond on the second drive. Not a great throw. I don't know if Isaiah Bond ran the right route. It looks like Quinn thought he was going to run and dig route, where he looked like he kind of ran more of an out route. So I don't know if that was more on Quinn or Isaiah Bond. If it was on Quinn, it wasn't a good throw. It was actually a terrible throw. If he puts that another yard inside, that could have been an interception. But overall, I thought he played a pretty damn good football game. I thought he looked normal compared to where we've seen him the last couple weeks. He doesn't look hurt anymore. He doesn't look laboring, so that's a good thing. I think he was definitely injured, guys, coming back. After watching it the last couple weeks, he's definitely a rotational thrower of the football, and every quarterback is, but I think he uses his torso more than most. Some guys can get away with just using their arms more because they have great arm strength. Some guys have to twist more, and that's more Quinn. And then some guys use their hips more if they're more loose in the hips. I think he's more rotational, and I think you saw that, and it kind of hindered him the last couple of weeks coming back from the injury, and I don't think he was 100%. Now, I do think he's 100%. Are there things he still needs to get better with? Yes. Again, post-snap reading is the biggest thing. His footwork's back to normal. He's stepping in the pocket a lot better. Not great, but still a lot better than he was in that Georgia game. But post-snap, he needs to get better with. And I don't know if he's going to be able to do that this season. But if we're talking about national championship, he's going to have to do that. Part of that, this isn't Quinn, but I thought Steve Sarkisian had his best game plan overall. A lot of motion. There was that beautiful play designed up, which orbit motion, fake handoff, reverse. That is going to be stolen. I've never seen that called. I've never seen it called by any team in college or the NFL. Maybe some high school team did it. I don't know, but that was a hell of a play called by Steve Sarkisian. I thought that will get copied, and there's probably going to be different variations of that. I think Texas should have a couple different variations of that. That's how nasty it was. I think you could throw a screen out of that. I think you could probably have a counter out of that as well, a running back counter. So we'll see what they do out of that. It's going to be very interesting, but it was a hell of a play call. Now let's move on to the running backs and offensive line. And this is still my biggest concern. And I don't think it's going to get better. I'm sorry to say that we are too deep in the season, guys, for this to get better. A lot better, I should say. Could it get minimally better? Yes, it could. Marginally better? Yes, it could. But it's just, it's not going to get a lot better. DJ Campbell killed that first drive. Trey Wisner obviously makes the mistake of he breaks the tackle. It would have been about a 2-yard loss and decides to run backwards, and it ends up being a 6-yard loss. And then on top of that, DJ Campbell got absolutely destroyed by a twist by Searcy of Florida, and he barely lays a finger on him. Like, he doesn't even touch him. And this is your second year. That was a freshman mistake. That was clearly miscommunication along the right side of the offensive line, and that's been the weakness for Texas, is the right side of the offensive line. And DJ Campbell has been our worst offensive lineman. Later in the game, the man got manhandled. This man got a straight arm to the chest with one hand and got pushed back 3 yards. And I'm not even joking. It was 2 to 3 yards. He got pushed back with one arm. Dude, you were the number one ranked offensive line in the 22 class. And your number one thing when you look into it of his recruiting profile was his power. And he's getting pushed back that easily with one arm. Absolutely. And we're not talking about Jordan Davis from a couple years ago with Georgia. We're talking about some random Florida guy that probably will get a cup of coffee in the NFL, but that's really it. You cannot be getting manhandled like that if you're DJ Campbell. So on top of miscommunication, he's also getting manhandled. That's not good. And then there was a holding penalty. I don't have the all-22 from the radio when I listened to it. Craig Way said it wasn't on Kelvin Banks. It was called on Kelvin Banks. So I don't know who committed the penalty. I trust Craig Way completely on that. So someone else committed the penalty. Either way, it killed part of that drive as well. And then this is just honestly fucking ridiculous. I try not to cuss on here, but it's ridiculous. Anyone want to guess what the longest run Texas had in the first half was? I don't care about the second half. We were up 35-0. They didn't care about it. We didn't care about it. The game was over. The longest run Texas had in the first half of this football game was 5 yards. Let me repeat that. The longest run Texas had in this football game was 5 yards. We did it twice. Give us a pat on the back for that one. You had Jaden Blue have a 5-yard touchdown run. You had Trey Wisner early in the half have a 5-yard carry. That is completely and utterly disgusting and unacceptable. This offensive line, man, my expectations were here. Then they moved him up here by the way they played earlier in the year, and they've just come down to here. Like they're a good offensive line, but they're not great. They don't get enough push on the run game. They don't protect long enough in the passing game. Whereas like LSU, I watch them. They do a phenomenal job in pass protection for the most part. Their running is basically the same as ours. They're having that issue for whatever reason, but we're not even great in the passing game. We're just an all-around solid offensive line. We should not win the Joe Moore Award. Should we be in the competition for it? Yes, because this is a down year overall in college football, and Kelvin Banks is still really good. Hayden Connors probably had his best year of his career here at Texas. Jake Majors is also playing really well, but DJ Campbell and Cam Williams have not played well in a very long time here. Cam Williams got hurt. Trevor Gooseby came in. I thought he played pretty well. We'll see if Cam Williams misses any time. I don't think he will. Steve Sarkisian said today in the press conference he won't, but overall, this offensive line has not lived up to the billing, and we needed it more than ever with CJ Baxter getting hurt. They just have not delivered for whatever reason. I don't know what the reason is, but it hasn't been good. Hey, on the good side, and we can talk about this, the defense. The defense has been great this year. The defense has outproduced everyone's opinions of them. Trey Moore, best game. It was his best game. He had the fumble recovery. He was also in on the forced fumble. He didn't force it, but he was in on it, picked it up, almost scored. There was a bullshit block in the back penalty. Michael Taft got tangled up with someone's feet, and they called a block in the back. He was in on another tackle for loss that I thought was originally a sack, which I do believe would have been his first sack of the year, maybe his second. But he hasn't put up the sack numbers like we like him to. But let's be honest here. He's been kind of a Swiss Army knife. We've dropped him into coverage a lot. He's played inside linebacker at certain times. He's also rushed the passer. So we kind of used him all over, and he's been really good. And I honestly think the way he's playing, I think he'll end up staying, and he'll be really good next year. I think it's more of a scheme and feeling out the bigger and stronger competition that he's going against. Jalen Gilbo had the 1 sack on the day, and that's the only thing I'm going to say about the defense. The defense has not been good enough at getting to the quarterback and bringing them down. The pressure this year is a lot better. You can see the pocket is collapsing more this year than it was last year, but it's still not good enough to get these guys to the ground. And big-time games, if we get in the college football playoff, because, guys, if we lose another game with the schedule we have, we're not getting in the college football playoff. I'm going to tell you that right now. With the way everything's worked out. In a typical year, 10-2 would get it done. If we go to 10-2, we're not making it. If we go 11-1, we'll be in, and we should be in. But if we're going to go up against an Ohio State and Oregon and those teams, you have to get to the quarterback to the ground, and especially versus those teams. Will Howard can run the football. Dylan Gabriel can run the football. We play Miami. Cam Ward can definitely run the football. So if you're going to get there, you have to bring them down, and we have to do a little bit better with that. I think next year we're going to be really damn good at getting sacks. This year, we have our best pass rusher, honestly, is Colin Simmons, and he just strength-wise cannot hold up to these SEC offensive lines for right now. Special teams, Bert Auburn, my dude, you got to be better. It was 51 yards, but it missed by quite a bit, and he hasn't been good this year. I think he's 6 of 10 kicking field goals. total down year from him. We were talking about if he had a good year this year, there's a chance this guy leaves and gets drafted in the NFL. I think that's gone. I don't think he's leaving now, so he'll be back for next year. And we need to find a punter. Ian Ratliff, Michael Kern, whoever it is, not good enough this year. We got to do better there. Everything else on special teams has been pretty good. Silas Bolton will give you a heart attack here and there because he decides to pick up some punts that are pretty iffy, but he does a good job with it. I can't complain. He hasn't fumbled this year, whereas Xavier Worthy and other guys in the past have. But overall, I thought it was a good game from Texas. I think it was probably the second best game overall we've played all year. I think the Louisiana Monroe game, looking back at it, is probably the best overall game. I think Michigan's probably third. I think Florida's second. Those are our three best games. Everywhere else has been super inconsistent. We play an Arkansas team that if we don't play our B+ game, I'm not going to say A, but if we don't play our B+ game, we're probably going to lose versus them this week. So